Tonight on the Eyrie, we recap the political state of Welsh rugby, discuss what was said at the supporters' consultation evening, wonder if the WU are actually listening to any fans, and finally, preview the Bulls game. Stay tuned. Good evening, ladies and gents. I'm joined on the Ospreys Eyrie by Grant and Jack, as always. How you doing, guys?
Good mate, yeah, good. Surviving as always. Yeah.
Yeah, good. Now that this week is out of the way, yeah, we did a supporters club consultation with the WRU last night, and it's nice to be the other side of it now and relax a bit more.
You've had a busy week, haven't you, Grant?
Yeah,
Talking
yeah,
too much, talking lots of rugby. If only there wasn't more rugby on this weekend. Let's continue talking some rugby and head straight into the news. And uh, small bits of news desk this week. We've owned the main point being that the former Ospreys coach Toby Booth has joined the Harlequins coaching setup. The former Ospreys head coach has joined the Harlequins coaching team as their forwards consultant for 25-26 season, taking place of outgoing Danny Wilson has joined the Welsh coaching team as one of Steve Tandy's assistants. Jack, what do you think about these appointments at Quins and Wales, respectively?
Um, yeah, I think Toby Booth as a forwards coach. I mean, I think that's a good appointment. He's a great coach. You know what he did with the Ospreys when he came in. He did a brilliant job bringing them on. He got the pack playing really well as well. So I think that makes sense. In terms of the Wales appointments, it's like the timing of these things is kind of strange for me, which is, you've got Matt Sherratt leaving just before the start of the season and Danny Wilson leaving as well. And it almost feels like, you know, it's not a great surprise that they've got the jobs and the positions, but it's like kind of like the planning as well, like for the other team seems a bit strange. Like it seems to have caught the club's cold almost, if that makes any sense. Um, so yeah, but I think that they're both, good appointments for Wales as well. Some of the players will know them because of their time with the regions. So it kind of makes sense, and it's nice that they've got the kind of coaching team together now and ready to go, so to speak. Yeah.
Going back to Toby Booth, he might be signed as like forward consultant type role, but you saw what he did for our guys just in terms of like fixing the top 2 inches, in terms of taking almost the same squad, sprinkling a few quality players amongst it, and really turned us around. So I think he'd do a little bit more than just the straightforward forwards coaching. Or if they don't use him that way, they'll miss out, don't they?
Yeah, most likely. I could see him doing a good job for Quins. They've maybe looked like they've got a lot of big, very big players there who probably need to get the most out of them. Like you look at a pack that includes Chandler Cunningham himself, you think, how are you not always going forward?
They lost some big names, didn't they? They're similar to Munster in that way, that they had some big retirements this last, like at the end of the season, with Danny Care going, and was it midway through the season Joe Marler left as well? I was midway
Yeah,
through, but yeah, if you look at, like, those are big kind of big losses, like in terms of experience. So getting someone like Toby Booth in, who's got experience in the game, who's been around the block a bit, like that's probably, yeah, as you said, quite smart actually, because yeah, at least from what I understand, Harlequins are looking like people are predicting they'll struggle this year. So yeah, I think probably a good appointment, to be fair. And yeah, it's interesting anyway, because I thought he was going to go into something else.
Good luck to Toby, unless Harlequins are playing us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
best of luck to Toby and to Danny Wilson alike. Moving on, we've entered the WRU's final week of its consultation period about the future of the regions. The poll is still up to supporters. If you haven't filled it out, please go fill it out. I know the questions are like bollocks, but there is a big empty text box for you to write whatever you want at the end, and we greatly appreciate anyone fighting for 4 regions at this point. Yes, it's probably the best future for everyone in Welsh rugby. And weird thing aside, the BBC News were running a poll on BBC Sport earlier, asking how many people wanted each number of regions. I think options being two, three, or four. Uh, 25% people wanted 2, 25% people wanted 3, 50% of people wanted 4 over a couple, probably about 10,000 entries, something like that, which I think is encouraging. But whether the WIU are reading it or not is questionable.
Yeah, the WIU is saying they're listening. Yeah, the question is they might listen, but will it actually influence their decision? They listen to people's opinions, but if we'll see, time scales should mean that people should be finding things out at the end of October. So,
let's hope for good news.
Yeah.
Let's move on to a different type of consultation. On Tuesday this week, the Ospreys held a supporters consultation evening with Lance Bradley. We were very lucky to have Grant up there on stage with him. How'd it go?
It's safe to say that everybody in the room, at least everybody I talked to, and the general feeling again from social media is everybody left the room very, very positive about there being a positive outcome for the Ospreys. Lance Bradley spoke for a long time. Rob Stewart from Swansea Council also took to the stage as well, and they left everyone with a warm feeling. So I think people were positive leaving. It's a lot more detail, in terms of what went on in the session. But yeah, everybody was aligned. I think there were polls put up throughout the session to gain people's opinions on the favoured solutions, as well as options, opportunities to ask questions. And I suppose the key poll is straightforward question: what do you think is the best solution that the models offered? And 2+2 came out top. It was very, very close with a 3-team solution. And funnily enough, I think one person might have clicked on a 2-team solution, and I don't know if they slipped on the wrong button. But I don't think they put their hand up at that point to say, yeah, it was me.
Intimidation works.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's obviously reports going out about a story about how Jack Morgan has told the WRU that he's only ever going to play for the Ospreys, which I think is encouraging. What do we think of that in particular? Do you think it holds any validity, or is it just Lance Bradley getting supporters on side?
Well, get supporters on side and gain a round of applause. Okay. But I think Jack's point of view is he doesn't want to play for a made-up region. He doesn't want to play for a merged region. Ospreys is his team, and it's almost about Ospreys' identity as opposed to a blackmailing type statement saying, if you don't do this, I'm going to go. I think he's really talked. A lot of the players have talked about how they want to stay in Wales and how they want to play for their clubs. It's just, yeah, it's pretty great when the Welsh captain is stating his intentions like that.
He's not the only player who's come out and said it as well, right? I think there's been a few who've said, well, I'd rather go and apply my trade somewhere else than play for 2 made-up regions. And just a long line of kind of, other than that stint over the bridge, he's Ospreys through and through. And I completely understand why. It's like, well, I like playing for the team I supported. I like playing for my hometown kind of region. And the idea that you can just scrub that out and then expect me just to play somewhere else I think it's a very human response to the idea as well, which is, well, at that point I might as well go anywhere. I'm playing here because I like to be here. I'm the captain of a club that I've supported. And so, yeah, why that kind of connection I've got to it isn't there anymore. So why would I stay here? Why would you expect me to say, well, I'll play for whatever you create? It's not, it's not a given, and it makes complete sense. And I think it is very human. It's a very human reaction, which is, well, I could go anywhere at that point. So, yeah, I will.
Well, again, I asked the question during the last pod. People of a certain age have only known Ospreys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, Jack's a young man. Okay. Ospreys is his team. So, what else did they talk about? There's, in terms of the commercial side of things, Lance Bradley talked a little bit more about Y11's background in terms of, they've got an annual turnover of, I think it was $6 billion, £5 million a year. So when you look at the scale of that, they're investing in sporting events. We understand their involvement in rugby clubs in New Zealand, okay, and with us, and the Cheetahs. But when you look at the total scale of what they're doing, Y11 are comfortable that they having to put money into the Ospreys at the moment. Yeah, they know when the economies of scale, considering they turn over, they can cope with $1 million, 2 million losses. They want the Ospreys to turn things around, but it's not as if there's a ticking time bomb saying, "Oh, we're going to pull out. We can't afford to do this." When you look at the scale of their operation, it's a real solid financial sort of starting point for us. That was really positive.
I was going to say that sounds extremely positive given how many clubs have gone under recently.
Yeah.
Dodgy investors. It's nice to know that we're at least being cared about.
Yeah.
I always wonder what the end game is though with Y11. They're not just going to put money in, indefinitely. They must want something in return. I just kind of wonder what it is they're.
Well, they want to be a global player in terms of rugby, don't they? Which is why is it Crusaders?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Cheetahs ourselves. And I think if COVID hadn't come along, they probably would have expanded a lot quicker when the game was growing. And we've seen on the back of COVID, the game is like almost shrinking, isn't it, financially?
I don't know. We might be in the new age of it with Red Bull investing in Newcastle. Hopefully that spells good signs going around, but it's rather a change in model.
It would suggest that there's something there, wouldn't it? It would suggest that they see some kind of growth. Well, there is the ability to grow. It's just how will it grow? I think, so they must see something there. Something that makes them think, well, it's worth putting the money in now. Do you know what I mean? Like if they see these things as mostly assets, which they do, because they're investment companies like Red Bull as well, they must see something in the game of rugby and an ability to grow. It's just, I wonder what direction that's going to go in or how they see it. So yeah, that certainly probably not the WRU suggestion of two teams and the one that they own non-existent. That's something that I would say, but there you go.
There was this in terms of like the Ospreys. Well, Lance presented a pros and cons of each of the solutions, and saying, well, we understand 4 clubs, we understand it's stable, we know where we are. Financially, it's not stable, but we understand the structures and how it works. It's not going to deliver any great shakes, so there's not enough more money being available to make 4 teams competitive. And he jumps to the other extreme and talks about 2 teams, and his concerns are probably the same as what most supporters would think. Is that genuinely a big enough base to supply Wales with players, the national team? And if there's any games going on the same time as people are away with the national squad, then you generally got, with injuries as well, you probably only got 18 fit players left in the squad. So he's saying he just does not think that 2 teams will provide enough players coming through to Wales and enough players left in the regions to work. And that, to be honest, I don't think that was a surprise to anyone. When he talked with 3 teams, he's saying, look, 3 teams does offer more money, and it doesn't just allow you to survive, it allows you to generally be competitive and win and get into top 4 in URC, etc. So, you can see there's leanings towards the 3 teams from the Ospreys.
I still think that there's enough space and, in theory, enough budget to be able to supply 4 comfortably and still be competitive to that level. It's just
if you can grow revenue, you should be able to support 4 teams, but you've got to grow it to generally be competitive again. When we had 4 teams and they were funded properly, national team did well, regions, pro teams, elite teams did well.
We'll see if we can return to that. Hopefully, there's enough pressure on the WRU coming in.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
Yeah.
How's the day itself, I guess?
Well, there's more. There's more.
Oh God.
The Ospreys offered up some proposals as well, because the idea is the WRU got about pathways, and fixing pathways are great, but the Ospreys said we want to go a stage further, and we think we should have under 14s pathways as well as under 16. So we're getting people ready for youth rugby and aligning all of that up potentially with the SRC teams, not with the regions, but with the SRC teams. So there's some identity and there's should be enough players coming through from an early age to have the right skill set for them to be ready for professional rugby. And Lance it was interesting to hear Lance's point of view on the women's game, because, and this was news to me, he was a CEO at Gloucester, and Sean Lynn was at Hartpury when Gloucester Hartpury's women's side were almost put together with a real limited budget, and he turned them from nothing into, was it 3 times English League winners? So he's got a lot of knowledge about how to set up women's rugby teams almost from scratch and make them successful. And he's saying it's not going to take huge amounts of money. You just need to spend the money in the right way that suits the women's game. And with that experience, I think that bodes well in terms of Ospreys having something to offer in terms of women's teams as well.
A nice pipeline going forward. At least nice way, good way to make use of St Helens once it's ready. It's not, if nothing else.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Phase 2 of St Helens with the barn, etc., should be a fantastic facility.
Glorious, hopefully. There's been a couple of views posted on Twitter from Lance himself from St Helens recently. It's just very nice. It's very nice.
It's not bad view from an office. I think the only way you're going to beat that view in terms of your office is if you're an airline pilot.
Is that really your office?
Well, this for a couple of hours, isn't it? There was an opportunity, as well as the polls, to offer up questions to Lance to answer, and it was done really well. People could submit questions, and you could almost like questions, and the more likes they had, the further up the list they went, and that worked really well. But before any tiny questions went in, the first question popped up saying, "Our mate Alec Merriman is getting married on Saturday when our first URC games are taking place. Can you tell me what you think about that?" So yeah, Lance stated his disappointment, and I'm sure that was echoed by his mates who were there as well. And yeah, wish Alec all the best of luck on Saturday.
Good lad.
Yeah. A lot of the questions came up around, a Swansea Council fully behind us, and Rob Stewart got up to answer the question saying, look, Swansea Council are 100% behind the development of St Helens. It benefits the entire area. All they're waiting for is the results of the consultation session with the WRU, and if it's a goer, things will start immediately and funds will be released. So it's really positive. He's very supportive of the project. But again, we just need the guarantees that we're going to exist effectively. Were there any other major questions? Someone did start spamming the questions with reference to tips as well. With like, are we going to have a proper goodbye because the season finished early? And that question popped up, and again, other questions were being dealt with, followed by someone responding saying, "You haven't answered the tips question. You haven't answered the tips question. Yeah, tips for president." All sorts of garbage was flying past on the screen, and when we got, so we might have missed the odd sensible question because there's constant scrolling of questions popping up on the screen. But Lance did address it, saying, "Look, the plan was, we wanted like a sort of testimonial type game where it's like almost like a Tipperary 15 versus someone else. We're going to do it in St Helens when St Helens is open, but given the fact we've had the delays, that's been put on hold for now. So fingers crossed at some point there will be some proper celebration of Tips's career with us on the pitch."
I'd imagine it'd just be a Tipperary Barbars team against current Ospreys, which, you know what, be a lot of fun.
And you've got to ask the question, what position is Tips going to play in that game?
13.
Where everyone.
13.
What has he played so far? Yeah. So it was a really, really positive night.
I was going to say, I've heard similar stories of just everyone being very well done, if nothing else, well organised, like a very soft setting and a very nice way to connect with the community. Hopefully it's something we can do when we do it again. It's done in a similar way. Yeah, it's just all very positive.
And the Patty Pavilion, it seems strange. The last person I saw was Newton Faulkner. It wasn't quite the same sort of evening, right? But in terms of facility, it worked really well as well. You know, there was seating put out for 300 people, and they put the original plan to selling 300 tickets, that was expanded up to 350, and there were benches being put out as well at the back room and extra seating being put out. There might have been a few gaps there, but they almost putting down every seat they had. So I'd say, yeah, a minimum 250, maybe 300 people there. So it was well supported for Tuesday night as well. Again, given how important this is, it's great to see people turning up.
Is there anything else from the supporters consultation that's worth mentioning before we move on?
No, not from the Ospreys supporters even. No, I don't think.
Let's
Sorry,
move. Let's move on to a different supporters consultation then, as last night the WRU met with at least the Osprey Supporters Club. Grant was there. He's not really allowed to talk about it, but how did it go in a general capacity?
We had a Teams call. We had Dave Redding and some other representatives from the WRU. There was an independent representative in the consultation session from one of the districts, and all of our committee attended. Okay. Following introductions, Dave Redding said, "Look, it's your opportunity to tell us what you think. So how do you want to run the session?" And we prepared a fairly detailed presentation. Maybe overly detailed, but I did a lot of that, and that's just the way I am. Right? So with Sarah, our chair, talked about who we are as a starting point in terms of what the Supporters Club stand for and what we do. Before we went into sort of a constructive feedback session in terms of the consultation pack. So the WRU wanted feedback on a few key areas in terms of what do you think about the optimal solution, what do you think of our alternative solutions, what do you think about the women's game, what do you and is there anything else? So we went through that. We had plenty of time to go through what we wanted to talk about. Dave answered the questions we asked, didn't necessarily answer the questions in the way we would have hoped, okay? Because they might be, we're coming at it from one perspective, he's coming at it from a different perspective, and we didn't necessarily get all the answers. So, there were some direct questions asked, things like, what about the naming rights of the stadium? And we didn't get a direct answer on that, but we did have a detailed breakdown of what's going on in terms of funding. We did ask the question about, in the middle of this process, what is happening with Cardiff Rugby as well, in terms of, are they still actively looking for the sale of Cardiff during the consultation? They saying no, it's all on pause during the consultation period. So that was a very direct, straightforward answer. So once we've gone through a level of detail about feedback on the consultation paper, and we went through the results from our Supporters Club survey that we sent out, and there's no great surprises in there in terms of people's what if people sort of vote with their feet in terms of if the Ospreys continue to exist, yeah, people will go. If we turn into a development region, a chunk of people will just say no. There's a lot of maybes, but there's 25% say we don't support we treat it as a second class team. If there was a merger, would you support them? Everyone said no. So there's no great surprises in terms of the survey results, but we wanted to make sure we had the time to go through that and state it and make sure it was documented and part of the consultation package. In terms of the open questions we asked as well, we had some fantastic responses. We had hundreds of responses to the survey, and we asked questions about what do you think of the problems with Welsh Rugby? What do you think of the optimal solution? And what do you think about Ospreys identity? So we fed back a summary of the hundreds of responses we had in terms of those topics as well. So plenty of time to go through that. Sarah, our chair, then went into a bit more detail about Ospreys identity, Ospreys affinity in terms of kids coming through and going on to play for the Ospreys, people like Ruben, people like Keelan, people like Harry Williams now joining that last list of kids who've grown up and wanted to play for the team, and got photos of them when they little, having their balls signed by people like James Tia, Adam Jones, etc. So we had plenty of time to go through things. So as far as we're aware, next step of the process is we'll have a transcript sent back to us for us to review. Make sure we're happy that it's representative of the meeting, and whether my Neath accent might have slightly skewed how teams made sense of what I was trying to say. I don't know. So we'll respond to the WRU on that. And in terms of timescales, consultation ends today. Yeah, I say it should have now ended. So they'll be pulling together the information, feeding that back to the board. I think all that's public knowledge already in terms of timescales, with the view of hopefully being able to make some sort of announcement end of October. So yeah, it was a long evening. Felt like a long evening where I was talking a lot about the feedback on the consultation session, but we had the time to make our points.
Yeah, fair enough. How did Dave and co come across? Were they particularly receptive or very standoffish?
No, they weren't standoffish. They've got a view on why they think the optimal solution is the optimal solution.
Mm-hmm.
So when we questioned some of the points, some of the responses were like, look, we couldn't get all the information into the consultation pack. It was already 100 pages long. If we made it 200 pages with a bit more detail, then, would you have got to the end of reading it? Would you have given up? Or there's got to be some sort of balance in terms of what they put out as a consultation pack. So they answered a few questions in terms of saying, what do you really mean by this? In terms of, we had the opportunity to state our message and state our points of view. In terms of, has it landed? Yeah, we think it's landed, but in terms of what do the WRU then do with what we've told them, then that's in the WRU's hands now, isn't it? But we were the last supporters club up. I think Dragons were yesterday afternoon, so we've got to the end of the supporters club's sessions. I've got the end of everyone's sessions 24 hours later.
Yeah. Hopefully it's gotten through, I guess. I guess it's very much at this point, will the WRU respond in kind, or is it going to be another time where the WRU make the decisions of Blazers stuck on the board? I think it's coming down to, it's going to be a stressful month of rugby coming up, isn't it?
Yeah, the fear is there's a routine sort of throughout the clubs, throughout the community, and the professional teams. There's a lack of trust with the WRU because of the things which have gone on in the past. So it's almost like, right, you state in this consultation is going to go this way. We just got to hope that the people there now are going to do things the right way.
It seems, quite honestly, it's a mess. Who could have seen that coming? A mess in Welsh rugby. Never happened before. But this might be the first time that it ends in a positive manner in some capacity, hopefully.
Yeah, I don't want to be negative about it, but from my point of view, I obviously wasn't at the meeting or anything, but from my point of view, is Dave Redding's big thing has always been, well, we set up this excellence kind of St. George's Park for England football, and that was great. If you bring him in and then you don't do that because you keep 4 regions, because you don't have the money to then do that, what happens to Dave Redding? Like, if that was his big thing, if this is his, like, this is what, we should be doing, because this is what I've done with English football, who have also won nothing after it. So I don't want to, cast suspicions, but that's, where do they go from there? Is there a plan B? Is there a plan B for how to make the national team better from that? Like, all I've heard is this is our preferred option. Again, wasn't at the meeting. This is our preferred option. We want to design this center of excellence, which seems to be where the money is going to go. If that doesn't happen, then what happens next? Is this like Dave Redding's brainchild? And if that doesn't happen, then he's like, well, I don't want to be part of it. It's going to be interesting if that doesn't happen, what the plan is.
Yeah, if you're only adopting half of a plan, will it fall flat on his face if you don't deliver the rest of it? Yeah, it's a really good question, that, and we shall see.
We shall see.
I just want to have a think. What happens when they want to cut a team when we only have 2 left? There isn't enough. You can't cut another team at that point without just having the Welsh national team. effectively playing in the Yerk or probably the Prem at that point. I don't see where it goes, to be honest.
The fear is if you slash to 2, there's no recovery, is there? There's
I was
just
going to say,
way
you can't add a team back onto that. Doesn't.
No.
It's not going to work.
Supercharged Super League Cymru, whatever it is. That's the idea, right? Is that will be more competitive. I wouldn't be surprised if that did happen and they went down that model. More people would turn up to Aberavon on the weekend than they would be to the new teams that are being created. I mean, but yeah, we'll see. But
I don't know. I don't know. As a certified Zoomer, I don't know about many people my age who's going to show up to see Bridgend Aberavon on a Saturday afternoon. It's not quite got the appeal. Mind you, I also don't know many people who will show up to see an Ospreys game on a Saturday afternoon either.
Well, yeah, going back to the Ospreys session, one thing Lance said was, take up of season tickets has been poor, and the move to Bridgend is the stock answer they're getting when they phoning people up and trying to convince them to buy a season ticket. So they're saying they're going to put a lot of effort now into looking at the Bridgend area. So if they are in Bridgend, let's try and capture the local population and try and get as many of the youngsters and the sort of rugby club type people and get them on board and get them along to games, which is a positive. So you can't just stand still and go, well, it didn't work, we'll do nothing. So they are trying to push now into promoting the Ospreys within the area of Bridgend, which is good.
That is good, to be fair. Shall we move on then from the politics onto the rugby? And let's have a look at some of the community results that happened over the weekend with lots of leagues starting up. I imagine this might be quite an extensive list, Grant.
Yeah, we did results a couple of weeks back, and since then, quite a few more leagues have jumped into life. And apologies in terms of some results I might have missed in the past, because my daughter just happened to be looking over my shoulder as I was putting the results together earlier. And she went, where's East Central? I went, we haven't got any team. Oh, there's an East Central. How many teams have you got there? So there's a few of the Bridgend teams are playing in the East Leagues. So it's like, okay, sorry, apologies if I've been missing teams out, and apologies if I've still missed the odd result out. Okay, but I'll go through a lot of, as Zach said, there's a lot of results to go through. Okay, results. Super Rugby Cymru started up, and we talked about Bridgend versus Aberavon. Aberavon winning a thriller at Bridgend, 35-37. Admiral Premiership, Bethau 26-0 against Bargate, great result. Brecon 12, Neath 47, so Neath putting in a great start away from home there. Admiral Championship, Tart Steel 7, Gosainon 21. Tom D, Art Rugby Club 27, Newcastle Emlyn 19. Armanford with the big score, 62-24 against Crummock. Gowerton 30, Trebarnos 15. Aberystwyth 7, Dunvant 14, so they get some reward for the travel all the way to Aberystwyth. And finally in the Admiral Championship, Glynneath 8, Kenfickle 10. Moving on, National League 1 West, Vailey Vole 23, Swansea Uplands 23. National League 1 West Central, Mumbles 15, Neath Athletic 35. Brinkethin 6, Bryn Aman 22. Porthcawl 26, Pencoed 6. Pencoed, choose whichever one you want there. Birchgrove 25, South Gower 5. So there's a lot of results. League 2 West, Penclough 10, Ponte de Leis 21 in a sort of local derby. Aberavon 14, Lucha 12. National League 2 West Central, Mumbles losing to Neath Athletic. And I've had Neath Athletic in there twice. Sorry, I've slipped up. Yeah, I've left the same results in there. Apologies, I'll skip that. Moving into National League West 3, Armagh United 10, Tumble 34. League 3 West Central, Resolver 19, Seven Sisters 31. Nantymoel 12, Torna 5. Brinkhoch 17, Tornmawr 20. Carmarthen 25, Maesteg, Celtic. Sorry, I'm doing it again. 22. National League 4, West Central. Everything postponed. I cut and paste the wrong results. Apologies. League 4, East Central, Brackla 12, Ogmore Vale 27. In National League 5, West Central, Actwen 20, Glencorrwg 11. And Pile 3, Dunvant Athletic 43. And I think finally, National League East Central, Kencoid 29, Kyra Ely 22. There endeth the results.
We really need to get some backing music.
I think that's quite important. Yeah, you don't want to just listen to me all the time, do just rambling on.
Well, we do enough of that anyways.
Yeah, maybe we should rotate the results amongst people who can manage to say Cwmffindreth without panicking, Zach.
Yeah, but I can't.
Well, yeah, the ones who can say without panicking.
Yeah, but I just can't say it.
Yeah, I do think a little bit of Saturday afternoon sports result music in the background would be great.
I do love the vibe of sort of final score at 5 p.m. once all the games are finished on the BBC. Yeah, you just get it all list all the way down. It's very clean, it's very concise. You always find out more if you need to, which you really should do. There's a lot of good games in there, and you should go check out your local club.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of rugby going on. You can see when you look at the number of games that took place last weekend. Yeah, if you wanted to go and see a game, yeah, there might not be an Ospreys game, but there's plenty to go and find if you want to go and see a game.
I was going to say, especially with Ospreys out in South Africa for the next 2 weeks, you've got nothing better to do the next 2 weekends.
Yeah,
Go and watch your local club. Just show you support teams in Wales.
Yeah, number one option if you can go to South Africa. Number two, go watch a local club, or maybe I should say number two should be go and watch the Women's World Cup final on telly. That should be a bit of a cracker.
England losing would be a great day out.
Yeah. I love the way Canada play rugby. I'm really jealous. I just hope they get a result on the weekend.
Yeah, let's hope. At this point in the pod, if you're enjoying us talking about politics, not much rugby, feel free to drop a like or subscribe to the channel or subscribe to the pod on whatever platform you're listening to. We'd really appreciate the support. We've recently hit 2,000 subscribers on the Rap YouTube channel, which, quite frankly, is fucking awesome. But if we can reach even 2,500 by the end of the season, that would be even more awesome. And it's just a very nice show of support for Welsh rugby in these trying times. With that, shall we move on to the big one? Balls away. Teams are released. Gents, what do you think?
Honestly, I've gone through all the emotions with it. I thought initially when we spoke about it, I was like, oh, it's not good. Can't wait. And I looked at our team and thought, well, maybe. And now I'm looking at the Bulls team again. I'm like, oof, who knows? I mean, there's some interesting selection choices in that Bulls team. So you've got Keegan Johannes playing at 10, who is a scrum half normally for them, which is an interesting choice. I guess I'm not sure how much fly half he's played, but yeah, so that's an interesting choice. And you look at the Bulls team and the household names aren't in there, but there are some names in there with Springboks caps, and you start thinking, well, I don't know, it's going to be a tough game. I think that the way that the Ospreys could maybe get a result out there is they've got to front up front, like with any trip to South Africa, and just come out the blocks and try and play a bit of rugby, particularly with the back line. It's going to be interesting to kind of see the Ross Moriarty versus Kuzia kind of battle. That breakdown is going to be really, really, really competitive. But yeah. It's I suspect that we're going to look to play with our backs more, I would say. But then, you end up throwing in things like the altitude and all those things coming together, and it's just such a hard place to go and win. it doesn't matter if they're missing like their main Springboks. It just, you look at that team, they're all big blokes. Some coming through from, names coming through, and others who have got Springboks caps who might not be playing for them at the moment, but are experienced. They've got a really good blend, and so yeah, it's hard to see. But looking at the Ospreys team as well, I think good pack, good back line, big in the centres. They've got big in the centres, heavy centres, speed out wide. So I think it's going to be get the ball away from those rucks as quickly as possible and play some rugby, and maybe hope to hit them sometimes on turnover ball and things like that. But yeah, it's going to be a tough match. If we come out even with a bonus point, I think fair play to them.
I mean, we've named a pretty strong side. To be fair, I think to go for it, 1 to 15. We got Garen Phillips, Dewey Lake, and Tom Bofa propping up the front row, with Rhys Davis and James Fender in behind them. Which, you know what, that's quite a good tight five.
Yeah.
Like, you can't be complaining about a top club rugby. Then you've got the back row of Ross Moriarty, Harry Deeves, and Morgan Morse, which feels like it's destined to start a fight.
Well, one through chops and one through violence.
Honestly, all of it.
Yeah,
it's a really pacey, athletic back row with a fair bit of strength there as well, isn't it? We were talking earlier about the Moriarty highlight reel, which has been floating around on social media the last couple of days. The guy's got a fair bit of pace in him, or had a fair bit of pace in him. Okay, he can be quite handful going forward. You just think about Ross Moriarty doing the dirty work. Oh, wrong choice of words there. But he can offer a lot going forward as well, can he?
Proper six, it must be said. And it's also line out forward, which is also quite nice.
Yeah.
Always a very underrated part of his game, I felt. But I'm very excited to see the back row sort of together, just running at people, whether it's to start fights or running with the ball, to be honest.
The backs look good as well, don't they?
Yeah. Going through Ruben and Dan, 9-10, current Wales winning combo, 100% win rate together on the international stage. With Keelan, once again, 100% international win rate. Kieran Williams and Phil Coxina in the centres, which feels like, once again, it's meant to pack a punch.
It's an interesting choice, isn't it? When you look at how we played a lot last season, Cocknessinger has got nowhere near things, is he? And okay, he's fit, he's ready to go. It'll be great to see what he can do.
I'm excited to see him on a hard, fast track.
And you look on the bench. We come onto the bench, but yeah, we've got another big heavyweight centre on the bench as well, haven't we?
Yeah. I mean, Dan Casente, Jack Walsh finishing out the starting 15 is pretty close to first choice.
Yeah.
Like, you're missing probably Gartom, Jack, and Owen Watkin.
Yeah.
If that. Like, is there anyone else you're really missing from that?
Well, Hardy.
I don't know, it's 50-50 at the moment.
Yeah.
With Ruben. So it's like.
Oh, no, I just mean in terms of bench position, because we've got this on the bench this week, haven't we?
Yeah. On the bench, I think, well, a little less experience. It's quite a young backline or young bench, all in all. I say young, but it's not the right term. Just feels not quite the same caliber. But going through, got Ethan Lewis, Stephen Thomas, Reese Henry, return of Big Sexy, Hugh Sutton, James Ratty, who had won his 50th appearance off the bench. Congratulations to him in advance. Then Leaky Dye, Tom Florence, and Harry Houston, looking to bring on some youth and exuberance in the back line, which maybe balls away isn't the way I'd start them off with, but
they've had very limited exposure. They both played in the second half of the friendly last week, Tom and Harry, and they went quite well. So let's see if they get some reward. But you go back to James Ratty, and you've got Hugh sitting on the bench, second row cover. Yeah, Ratty is there as back row cover. So you start looking at the fact when you got Ross Moriarty in the team, you can shuffle him around 6 and 8.
It's like Moriarty is playing 7 out in France at Brive. He's maybe not the classic poacher, but tackles and carrying. Like,
but the French will swap their 6s and 7s as well, won't they?
yeah, that's
So,
just
Yeah,
French.
they don't really do fetches, do they? They just do big lumps.
Yeah.
Just very French.
So you're going to say, like, okay, Ratty would come on at 6 or maybe 8 with Ross shuffling across.
So I can see him coming on at 7 and then moving Morse to 7.
Yeah, there's options, isn't it? There's real options with that sort of mix in the back row. But the bloke you're bringing on is the biggest of the lot as well, which might be handy.
Yeah, certainly. Especially if things are tight in the last sort of half an hour. Bringing on James Ratty, just make disposable carry to disposable carry and just smash a load of rocks. It's like, I can't complain about that at all.
Yeah. No, it's not a bad. Well, it's a good side. It's not the ultimate Ospreys this season, but it's a bloody good side.
I was going to say, there were rumours about saying we'd sort of take a week inside out to South Africa, knowing that it's a bit of a write-off and just losing it as sort of 2 warm-ups. I think with a side like this, we're clearly saying, we can have a go here. We're going to go target it. This one, the Stormers away. We've won well away at the Stormers before. We'll have Jack Morgan coming back into the squad next week as well, as he's flying out, I think, on Monday to join the squad.
I don't know.
That's what I saw on Twitter. Not real source. Must be true.
It's a hell of a back row, isn't it? That the Ospreys have got now, to be fair, when you look at it. Throw Jack Morgan in there as well, and
throw Morgan Morris in there as well.
Yeah, Morgan Morris as well at 8. It's honestly, it's impressive. I'm looking forward to it, to be fair. The day before now, I'm thinking, hey, the worry is, as it's the first competitive match they've played, it couldn't be worse at altitude. You're going to use that bench. You're going to have to probably, so it's the conditions as well as everything else. But I'm still going to go with I'm going to talk myself into an Ospreys win here anyway. So there you go. We're coming away with a win.
Let's move on to some predictions and we'll go for the classic result and funny thing that will happen. And no, we'll start off with Jack, given he's so positive.
All right, so Ospreys by 10. Why not? Funny thing that'll happen. Ooh, good question. Let me think. Does Ross Moriarty not get any yellow card count or something funny?
I think that's just like on like the board. I think that's just sort of
not getting a card.
We're giving the boy a pasting, and I wouldn't say any of this to his face, man.
I would, but I'd run away very quickly.
No, I've seen how quick he is on those videos now. You're not getting away. That's the problem.
Yeah, I'd try.
You don't want him to catch you looking at those videos as well. He's fair play. There's some significant hits.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't. I've got nothing. Nothing that springs to mind as something funny happening. Playing that Bulls pack at altitude, I don't think anything funny can ever happen.
No, fair enough. Grant, score.
I see at least 2 points out of the game. So I see us scoring tries. And it might be fair. It is going to be close. I hope to God it's going to be close. Okay, because Ospreys by 1. Ospreys by 2. And the reason I say that is my funny moment, and I'm pretty sure Rhys Henry's going to come on, okay, and drop a goal to win the game.
Good lad.
Go on, you can do it, boy. You can do it.
I cannot. Yeah, he can. He really can. Go on, big sexy. I don't think I'm not going to be as positive because I'm sad. I do think the Bulls are going to win. I think we'll probably have a little bit too much. I think we might be a bit undercooked, but I think we'll still get 2 points. I think we're going to go Bulls by 4, sort of 30 points to 26, something like that. But my funny moment is Ross Moriarty is going to get punched and then waving off like he did to Camafoni a couple of years ago. Which
But what was that?
was glorious. I don't think there's much more to go through this week, other than remember the game's at a really early start on Saturday, and it's only on Premier Sports or URC TV. So good luck watching it. Until then, we'll be back with you hopefully next week to go back through the game and look forward to Stormers away. Thank you all for listening. Have a lovely evening.
Cheers all.